She laughed when she saw me again, an expensive bag over her shoulder, sunglasses on indoors, chewing gum like the world owed her comfort. "You're still alive?" she asked, with mock surprise, like my survival was a minor inconvenience to her lifestyle. 3 years ago, I was the man she couldn't stop clinging to, the man she kissed before every meeting, who funded her designer wardrobe and paid off her brother's debts. And when I went bankrupt, when the business collapsed, when the phone stopped ringing, she vanished overnight. No goodbye, no apology. Just a blocked number and a screenshot of her engagement to Benjamin. Now she stood there, just a few feet from me, in the lobby of a building she didn't even know I owned. The same building she was being evicted from. The assistant had just handed her the notice. She hadn't read the name yet. But I had watched the color slowly drain from her face as she skimmed down the page. Her voice cracked. This can't be right. Who's the new owner?" The assistant tilted her head slightly toward me, and when Sophia turned, I didn't. "Flinch, William?" Her voice was too soft now, too careful, like she was testing the air before it shattered in her throat. I didn't answer her. I didn't need to. This was the same woman who once told me I wasn't built for survival, that some men collapse and some men evolve, and I was the former, that she needed ambition, not sentiment. She said I was holding her back. She said I was dead weight. But dead weight doesn't come back and buy the building you're drowning. And she reached out, still pretending the tremble in her fingers wasn't there. "I didn't know you were doing so well," she said, voice thin with desperation. I stared at her like a stranger. "That's because I stopped telling you things the day you stopped listening." Her hand dropped. Her mouth opened. But the words wouldn't come, and that was fine because I wasn't here for conversation. I was here for closure, and she had just been served. Sophia used to say I was too soft, that I didn't have what it takes to succeed in the world she dreamed of living in. And maybe back then I didn't. I was the kind of man who brought home flowers on random Wednesdays, who believed loyalty and sacrifice actually meant something, who thought love was louder than money. That was before I learned the truth, before I learned that some people only love you as long as you can give them something. Back then I had a decent business, import and distribution. Not flashy, but stable. We weren't rich, but we didn't have to count coins before dinner. Sophia had met me at a networking mixer. She was sharp, magnetic, and always perfectly styled like she belonged on the cover of a glossy lifestyle magazine. She told me she wanted to build something real, that she was tired of dating boys with borrowed cars and big mouths. I didn't. Realized then that she was just testing different horses, waiting to bet on the one who'd sprint the farthest. And for a while, I ran. Hard. Dinners in rooftop restaurants. Birthday trips to the coast. A 2-bedroom condo on the West End, furnished just the way she liked it. Velvet curtains, glass coffee tables, imported rugs she never vacuumed. I gave her everything, because I thought that's what love looked like. It wasn't. The day everything fell apart was a Tuesday. I still remember because I'd just come back from a meeting where my biggest client had canceled a multi-million-dollar contract. It was the final blow. The company bled out in under 30 days. Employees were laid off. Equipment was sold for scraps. And I came home with my tie loose and hands shaking, ready to tell her everything. But I never got the chance. She already knew. The moment I walked through the door, she didn't ask what happened. She asked how long we had before the condo was repossessed. I said I didn't know. She didn't flinch. Just pulled out her suitcase from under the bed and began folding her silk tops like it was any other Tuesday. "Sophia," I asked, "where are you going?" "Out," she said without looking up. I didn't sign up for a tragedy. She left that evening. The wine I'd chilled the night before still sitting on the counter. I remember pouring it down the drain, listening to the sound of waste. It wasn't just the wine. A few weeks later, I saw the photo online. Her and Benjamin. He had been my so-called best friend. I'd lent him money more than once, gave him business leads, never imagined he'd be the one to take my place. In that photo, Sophia was laughing, like the past 3 years hadn't even existed, like she hadn't once promised to marry me. Like I hadn't sat through 6 hours of bridal catalog browsing while she circled centerpieces in red pen. And maybe it was my own fault for believing. After that, I stopped answering calls, disappeared from everything and everyone, rented a studio apartment near the edge of the city, and started working construction with a crew that didn't care about my resume. I didn't tell anyone who I used to be. I just kept my head down, saved every cent, and taught myself how to win the game I used to play blindfolded. It took time, years, but I came back, not for revenge. Not even for her. I came back because I owed it to the man she abandoned, the man who once believed love could survive bankruptcy. That man deserved to rise again, even if it was just to stand over the ashes and say, I made it. And as for Sophia, I never once imagined I'd see her again. Not like this. Not in a leasing office where her name sat on an eviction notice with my signature at the bottom. Not as the woman who turned around slowly, recognition crawling across her features, like dread, her mouth parting as she whispered, William? 3 years ago I would have answered. Now I said nothing, because the man she left behind had died the night she walked away, and the man in front of her now didn't owe her a single word. Sophia stood in front of my car the next morning like nothing had happened. She wasn't dressed like the woman I used to know. No heels, no designer bag. Just a plain beige sweater, dark jeans, and the kind of nervous smile that looks more like surrender than warmth. The kind that comes from someone who knows they've lost the upper hand. I rolled down the window slowly. She leaned in, folding, her arms on the frame. I wasn't expecting that yesterday, she said. Clearly, she laughed lightly. You really bought the whole building? You sound surprised. I thought you were bankrupt. I was, she blinked. I got better. For a moment, there was silence, not tension, just that strange gap between two people who used to be something and now couldn't even find the right words to say hello. Can we talk? She asked quietly. Somewhere private. I looked at her for a long time. She still had the same face, the same eyes, the same voice, but something about her seemed smaller now. Or maybe I had just grown past whatever version of her I used to need. Get in, I said. She climbed into the passenger seat without hesitation. I didn't ask where she wanted to go. I just drove. 20 minutes later, we were parked at the edge of a quiet overlook. The city below looked like a story someone else wrote. She stared out at the skyline like she was trying to remember how it used to feel. You hate me, she said softly. I didn't answer. You have every reason to. Still nothing. I wasn't trying to hurt you, she continued. I didn't know how to stay with someone who had nothing. There it was. The real truth. No apologies. No excuses. Just the plain, bare honesty of someone who had finally run out of lies to lean on. I know, I said. She turned to me. Then why did you help me? Who said I did? You could have ignored the eviction. Let someone else handle it. You wanted me to see your name. I looked at her. Yes. Why? Because you left me like I was nothing. I wanted you to see what nothing turned into. She looked down. Is that what this is then? Revenge? No, I said. This is clarity. She didn't speak for a while, just stared at her hands like they had answers she couldn't hear anymore. I'm not with Benjamin, she said finally. Haven't been for a while. I don't care. I thought you might. I don't. And that was the most honest thing I'd said all day. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. I didn't take it, but she placed it on the dashboard anyway. What is it? My engagement ring, she said. From you. I glanced at it, still the same modest band I bought with the last of my savings. She hadn't pawned it, not even after everything. You kept it? I asked. I couldn't sell it, she said. Not because it's worth anything, but because it was the only thing in my life I didn't lie about. She looked at me. And for a split second, I saw the woman I used to love, but I also saw everything she'd done to burn that love to ash. I'm not the same man anymore, I said. I know. And you're not the same woman I once wanted to build a future with. She nodded. I know that too. I turned the key in the ignition. The engine hummed to life. She reached for the door handle but paused. Can I ask you something? Depends. If I hadn't left, if I had stayed, would you have forgiven me? I looked straight ahead. Let the question sit in the air like smoke. No, I said. Because if you had stayed, you wouldn't be asking that now. She opened the door slowly, stepped out, closed it behind her, and didn't look back. As I watched her walk away, the envelope still sitting on the dashboard, I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel rage. I felt nothing. And for the first time in years, that emptiness didn't scare me, it set me free. I thought seeing her again would trigger something, rage, regret, maybe even temptation. But the only thing I felt was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. The kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. The kind that settles deep in your bones, where even silence starts to feel heavy. After she left the car, I sat there for 20 minutes, watching the wind mess up the skyline, watching nothing change at all. The envelope she left behind was still on the dash. I didn't open it, didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might explode. I don't know what made her think that ring still meant something. Maybe to her it did, but for me, it was just a symbol of what almost was, a reminder of how stupid I had been, how much I had given, how little she'd carried. Emma texted me that night. You okay? I didn't respond, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have the words to explain how it felt to finally win and still not feel full. For 3 years I told myself if I just made it, if I just proved her wrong, if I built everything from scratch and came back stronger, better, richer, then the pain would go away. But success didn't erase her. Betrayal. It just gave me a quieter place to remember it. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Tried to work. Couldn't focus. My mind kept going back to the moment she packed her suitcase like she'd been waiting for the excuse. Back to the way she looked when she reached for my hand the other day, like a drowning person who finally saw land. Why now? Why not then? Why did I still care about the question? I poured myself a drink, stared out the window of the condo I now owned, the same one she used to decorate with candles and throw pillows like we were building a life. I'd bought it not because I wanted to live here again, but because I couldn't stand the thought of someone else living here after me, especially her. The hardwood still creaked in the same places. The kitchen tile still had the crack I promised I'd fix but never did. Our ghosts hadn't left. They just moved into the corners and got quieter. I sat on the edge of the bed, palmed the ring box, and finally opened it. Same ring, same dull shine, same faint scratch on the band from when I dropped it the night I bought it. And I felt it again. That weight. Not from her. From me. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, I had always believed I wasn't enough, and she confirmed it. That's the part people don't talk about when they say, move on. They don't tell you how long it takes to forgive yourself for trusting the wrong person, for being blind, for confusing survival with love. Sophia didn't break me. She just revealed the cracks I already had. Emma called. I almost let it ring, but I picked up. You're not okay, she said. No. Do you want to talk about it? I don't know how. There was a pause. Okay, she said. Then just breathe. I'll stay on the line. And she did. For 23 minutes we didn't speak, but her silence was the kind that made the room less lonely. And when she finally hung up, I realized I wasn't alone in this world anymore. Not really. Sophia was a chapter. But Emma was something else. I just didn't know what yet. All I knew was this. I was still hurt, still haunted, still working through every question Sophia left behind. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I should have known peace was just the pause before the next disaster. 3. Days after Sophia left the envelope in my car, I got a call from the property manager, a quiet, meticulous woman who handled things by the book. She cleared her throat and said, "Mr. Blackwood, someone attempted to break into Unit 17C last night. That was Sophia's old unit." "I thought it was vacant," I said. "It is." "That's the problem. Someone disabled the alarm and tried to gain entry through the back fire stairwell. The security footage shows her." She sent me the clip. There she was, hood up, looking around like a teenager caught sneaking back into a house she no longer had a key for, and she wasn't alone. A man was with her. I paused the video. Benjamin. That snake hadn't disappeared after all. The same Benjamin who posted photos with her from beach resorts 3 months after she walked out on me. The same man who said he had my back while slipping into my place before it was cold. I clenched my jaw. So that's what this was. A setup. Sophia wasn't sorry. She was stalling, running cover, playing the regret card while her little tag team partner planned to break in and steal something, or maybe plant something. I reviewed the second half of the footage. They didn't take anything, but Benjamin left behind a black flash drive, tucked under the oven drawer. The cops retrieved it. Before I even had a chance to ask, on it, photos, dozens me in my condo, on my balcony, walking into my office. With Emma, private, invasive, shot from a distance with a telephoto lens. It wasn't theft, it was blackmail bait. I could already hear the story forming. William Blackwood, newly re-established businessman, caught stalking his ex-fiancee's new life. Obsessed. Unstable. Maybe even dangerous. They were building a narrative. Carefully. Quietly. Until I gave them a reason to light the match. And all the while, Sophia was playing innocent. Crying. Whispering. Regretful. I wanted to believe. Part of it was real, but I couldn't. Not anymore. I sent her a message. No greeting, no warmth. You and Benjamin want war. Fine, but make sure you're both ready to burn. No reply. But I didn't need one. The next day, Emma showed up at my office. Her expression was off, guarded, tense. "What's wrong?" I asked. She hesitated, then reached into her purse, pulled out a photo of her with Benjamin from 4 years ago. "We used to date," she said. "Briefly, before you and I ever crossed paths. I didn't think it mattered." I stared at the photo, then at her. And now? Now it does. Because someone mailed this to my cafe. No note, no return address, just the photo and a question scribbled on the back. She handed it over. The question? "Are you sure you're not next?" My chest went cold. This wasn't just about me anymore. They were targeting her now too, and that changed everything. The game was over. They just didn't know it yet. 2 weeks passed with no word from Sophia. No texts, no calls, no sudden appearances outside my building, which only confirmed one thing. They were planning something, and I was planning something better. While they tiptoed around the edges, I prepared the stage. Emma stayed calm, though I could tell she was worried. After that photo arrived at her cafe, she changed the locks, installed new cameras, and started carrying pepper spray. She didn't complain, she didn't cry, but she didn't smile the same either. That was my fault. I'd brought this mess back into her life. I should have shut it down the second Sophia showed up again. Instead, I let nostalgia cloud my judgment, but no more. I reached out to an old contact, Reed, ex-military, now running private security and digital forensics. He owed me a favor. Cashed it in. Within 3 days, he found everything. Benjamin had filed for bankruptcy 6 months ago. Debts over $1 million. Most of it linked to bad crypto speculation and a failed interior design startup he'd tried launching with Sophia. She wasn't just his ex, she was his investor. And judging by the bank statements Reed dug up, she'd emptied her savings for him. All of it gone. That wasn't love. That was desperation. They needed a way back in, to money, to power, to relevance. And if they couldn't take mine, they'd destroy it. Reed set up motion-triggered audio devices in the condo's hallway and lobby. Sophia had already tried to sneak in once, no reason to think she wouldn't again. On the 6th night at 2:14 a.m., she returned, alone. She walked right up to my door, whispered something under her breath, then slipped a sealed envelope under the frame and left. I watched it live from my phone. The next morning, I opened it. Inside, a flash drive. Again. Only this time, it didn't contain blackmail. It contained something else. A video. One she didn't know I'd seen already. Her, Benjamin, sitting in a dimly lit apartment, plotting. Her voice calm, cold. If we can make him look dangerous, unstable, then maybe we can use Emma to press charges, get him off the board. People like him. When they snap, no one's surprised. Benjamin laughed. Let's hope he does snap. That'll make it easier. I paused the video, sat there, unmoving. They didn't want closure. They wanted me buried. That evening, I met Sophia face to face. I arranged it through an anonymous text. Told her a reporter wanted to interview her about the building's ownership change and her sudden eviction. I knew she'd come. She couldn't resist a chance to spin the story. When she arrived, her face was done up, lips glossy, hair curled. At the ends, she wore the same perfume she used to drown herself in before every gala. The moment she saw me in the private lounge, her heels stopped clicking. You tricked me, she said flatly. I learned from the best. She didn't sit, just crossed her arms like she still thought she had leverage. What do you want, William? Answers, I said. Or a confession. Your choice. Her eyes narrowed. You're not recording this, are you? I slid my phone across the table, locked, screen dark, nothing playing. She didn't know Reed was already patching the hidden mic straight into a live legal stream. Time-stamped, archived. I saw the video, I said. She blinked. The one you and Benjamin made. About framing me, using Emma. Her throat twitched. I don't know what you're talking about. You do, I replied. You just didn't know someone else was recording you. I waited. Her confidence cracked. Just slightly, like a line forming across glass. I was angry, she whispered. I lost everything. Benjamin said, I don't care what Benjamin said. I care what you did. Her silence was louder than any confession. I stood up, tossed a folder onto the table. Inside, a cease and desist order, a police report with full evidence logs, and a civil lawsuit notice citing harassment, attempted defamation, and illegal surveillance. This is what I want, I said. I want you out of my life. I want you out of Emma's life, and I want you to know you were right. Her eyes flicked upward. You said I wasn't built for survival. I leaned in. You were wrong. Her lip trembled. I didn't feel pity. I felt peace. You were a lesson, Sophia. But not the kind that lingers, the kind that gets buried. She opened her mouth to speak, but I was already walking away. That same night, I sent Emma everything. Not the video, just the conclusion. It's over, I texted her. They're finished. You're safe now. Her reply came 3 minutes later. Good. Because I never doubted you. I stared at those words longer than I should have. It was the first time in a long time I felt like the future might finally belong to me again. Not as a man rebuilding from ruin, but as a man ready to start something real. They thought I wanted an apology. They thought I was chasing some twisted version of closure. What they never understood was that I didn't need either. I just wanted them to feel what I felt. The silence, the weight, the betrayal so sharp it carves through your chest like a blade, dipped in salt. And now they did. A week after I served Sophia the lawsuit, Benjamin was arrested. Turns out Reed found more than just blackmail footage. On that flash drive Sophia left behind, buried deep in the metadata, were transaction logs. Benjamin had used a fake shell company to purchase equipment used in surveillance operations under Sophia's name. Surveillance laws are strict in this city, and they violated every single one of them. I didn't even have to testify. The police showed up at his apartment, cameras rolling, Sophia screaming in the background as they dragged him out in cuffs. It made the evening news. Her reputation? Shattered. His record? Permanent. They weren't coming back from this, and I didn't need to lift a single finger beyond signing the legal documents. That's the best kind of revenge, the kind that looks like justice. I stood at the window of my new office. High floor. City view. The kind of glass that doesn't reflect your past, only your potential. Emma stood beside me, sipping tea. Calm. Grounded. Exactly what I'd never had when I was younger. Someone who didn't just want what I could offer, but who actually saw me. "You're quiet," she said. I nodded. "It's over." She tilted. Her head. "You sure?" "They're done. Even if they crawl back, there's nothing left to take." She gave a small smile. "And what about you? What's left for you to give?" I thought about that. For the longest time, I gave myself to people who never valued it. My time, my energy, my loyalty, my love. I had spent years building kingdoms for people who only wanted the throne, not the burden. Now, I was building for myself. "I'll let you know," I said finally. "But I think I've got something good left." Emma just smiled again and looked out over the skyline. That night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Sophia. "You win. Congratulations. I hope it makes you happy." I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because she no longer deserved to hear anything from me. She thought this was a game, a contest. Like my survival was about proving her wrong, but it wasn't. It was about proving me right. I didn't win because she lost. I won because I became the kind of man who no longer needed her downfall to define his rise. Still, I wanted one last thing. Closure. Not the emotional kind, the legal kind. I bought the building where Benjamin was being held. Just a stake, a few floors, just enough to make a point. When the media showed up at his court hearing, my company's logo was shining in the background. Right above the glass doors he was walked through in handcuffs. You could see it in the papers. William Blackwood Properties. Right above the headline. Ex-couple accused of blackmail plot against real estate mogul. Poetic, really. The world didn't need to know the details, but they needed to remember the name, and now they would. I didn't see Sophia again. Not in person, but I heard things. She tried to relaunch her career, tried to start a podcast, tried to market skincare products through an affiliate scheme. Everything failed. Every time she opened a door, someone reminded the room of what she did. Reputation is currency, and hers was bankrupt. Benjamin, on the other hand, stayed exactly where he belonged. Prison. Apparently, he tried to cut a deal by shifting all the blame onto Sophia. Claimed she manipulated him, said he was in love, said he was desperate. He finally told the truth. Too late for it to matter. Meanwhile, I finished development on the project I'd quietly been working on for the last year, a housing initiative, designed for single mothers and at-risk youth. No PR, no flashy billboards, just real work. Quiet revenge. Served in legacy. And I named the first completed building after someone no one remembered anymore. My mother. She never lived to see me succeed. She died thinking I'd be all right because I was too kind to stay broken. She was right. When I unveiled the building, Emma stood next to me, hand in mine. No photographers, no stage speeches, just a small plaque that read, "For the boy who was broken, and for the man who rebuilt himself anyway." The crowd clapped softly. I didn't need a standing ovation. I had peace. Later that evening, Emma and I walked the corridors. The walls were still bare, smelled like fresh paint and promise. We stopped at one of the new units. The family hadn't moved in yet. But there was a toy fire truck already sitting in the corner, a little sign that said, "Home." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said. We did. And that was the truth. Not just because she stood beside me, but because she believed in me long before I had anything to offer. Long before the headlines. Long before the comeback. When I was just a man cleaning his wounds in silence. Now, I wasn't wounded anymore. I was ready to live without dragging the past behind me like a shadow that wouldn't die. I still wore the scars, but they didn't hurt anymore. They reminded me of how far I'd fallen and how hard I'd climbed. Sophia once said I'd never make it, that I didn't have it in me. She was wrong. I had everything in me. And now, I had nothing left to prove. Only more to build, and this time, I'd build it all without her name anywhere near the foundation.